Welcome, everyone. My name is John Tiamisha. Today is March 3rd, and this is our A0 Intro to Circassian course for beginners. And this is our last for Eurasian geography students. This is our last class for a while. We're going to take a little break before Ramadan. We're going to take Ramadan. Not everyone observes Ramadan, and that's fine. I do. Many of us do. So we're going to take a break during Ramadan, and then afterwards, inshallah, we're going to come back together and we'll keep going with this. As long as I'm breathing, I will teach. Okay. So we were just warming up, and one of our students said, there's a common issue, not just for Circassians, but for many people in many different languages, where they understand a lot of the language, but they are unable to speak the language. And so what causes this, and what can we do to solve this? And so there's three schools of thought when it comes to this, okay? And they're not in conflict necessarily, but there's just three ways of thinking about this. The first way of thinking about this is from the research of one of the most widely cited field linguists. So a field linguist is somebody who focuses on speaking languages as opposed to a general linguist who's researching how languages are structured, right? And Stephen Krashen, Krashen, what he would say is that with enough comprehensible input, with enough speech or reading or writing that we understand, okay, over time, we will naturally produce output, okay? So at a high level, his theory would say that eventually, everybody who understands lots of Circassian should be able to speak Circassian, okay? Now, the problem with that is we don't see that in the real world, right? We see lots of Circassians who don't speak, even though they understand. And so Stephen Krashen has an answer for this. Stephen Krashen has a hypothesis that has 5 different areas of what drives language acquisition. And one of them that's specific to this question is that if we have a high stress environment, that anxiety, that stress prevents us from having the confidence and the comfort to speak. So in other words, he calls it the affective barrier. And so what happens is, even though we have all this comprehensible input, even though we understand what we're hearing or what we're reading or any of these other things, we have this internal barrier that prevents us from producing output. And that barrier is caused by stress, okay? Now, some people agree with this, some people do not agree with this, but what I do believe, I think this is part of the answer, personally. But what I also know is that for whatever reason, right or wrong, historically, Circassians will make fun of people who tries to speak the language and makes mistakes. That is something that is part of Circassian culture. I'm not saying it's right, but it is a fact, right? And that's different than, other cultures. For example, English, there's many English speakers in the world. There's always going to be people who are not nice who speak English. But I think a lot of people understand that if you're trying to learn English, there's many people trying to learn English. So the idea of seeing somebody who makes mistakes is very normal to an English speaker, a native English speaker. And so there's more of a culture of helping that person, or at least not laughing at that person. For small languages like Circassian, and this is common among many small languages, the way that a lot of small nations identify themselves is through their language. And so it's this feeling of exclusivity. And so if you start to speak and you make a mistake, people will ridicule you, they will laugh at you, they will make fun of you. And so, again, I'm not saying it's right, but this increases what Krashen calls the affective barrier. It increases our anxiety level, and it creates a psychological block that prevents us from going down that natural path of producing output. So that's one school of thought. Second school of thought comes from Paul Nation. Paul Nation is a complement to Stephen Krashen. He's also a very widely cited field linguist. I think he's semi-retired. He's at a University of New Zealand. Auckland. He's in New Zealand. He's in Auckland or Christchurch. I'm not sure which. really, really nice guy. Both these guys are nice guys. I've met Crashen. I've emailed Paul Nation. He's been very kind to me through his emails and stuff. And what Paul Nation does not agree with Stephen Crashen's all of his hypotheses. He does not believe that with enough input, you will create output. Paul Nation believes he has a model called the Four Strands, and the Four Strands correlates to the four areas of language. There's reading, there's writing, there's speaking, and there's listening. Okay, and in Paul Nation's view, these are all skills that need to be practiced and need to be learned and improved. Okay, and I think there's something to this as well. So Stephen Crashen would say Circassians make fun of people who don't speak Circassian well. That creates anxiety. That anxiety prevents the learner of Circassian from speaking properly. As a result of that, that's the answer. Paul Nation would say something different. Paul Nation would say those people that you are describing who can understand but not speak, they have learned the skill of listening, but they have not learned the skill of speaking. And the reason that I think that there's something true to what Paul Nation is saying is I know many Circassians. My wife is one of them. My parents are some of them who can who can speak and listen fluently. They are native speakers. There's nothing you will throw at them that they do not understand. There's nothing that they cannot say with the vocabulary that they have, but they fall apart when it comes to reading or writing. You know, even my wife, who knows the Cyrillic alphabet because she's fluent in Russian as well, she has a very hard time reading Circassian, right? And it's because she has not practiced the skill of reading Circassian. And God help you if you ask her to write anything in Circassian, she won't do it, because that's another skill, right? Knowing all the sequences of letters to make all those sounds, right? So I do think there's something there, because in my own experience, I've taught many native speakers of Circassian how to read Circassian, and I see that it takes them a while. And in the back of my head, I was always like, why is this so hard for you? You speak better than I do. You know, you understand better than I do. This should be a 20-minute discussion and you're done, right? And it's not. It's a skill that takes time to acquire, right? So that's Paul Nation's view. Paul Nation's view is that the four domains of language, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, are unique skills, and learning one helps the others. That is true, but each one needs equal measure of practice for mastery. Okay, so that's a second view. The third view, which is kind of my own view, there's a lot of scientific research on this, but I can't cite any one specific linguist or researcher. But the third view is a neuro-linguistic view, and the neuro-linguistic view would be that your brain is wired in a certain way, right? And so the brain circuitry is wired very strong for understanding the sounds of Circassian and then translating them into ideas that we can understand. That brain circuitry is very strong. There is different brain circuitry that we have that connects the brain to the motor functions of our mouth, of our tongue, of our necks. And that brain circuitry, through not practicing, is not wired properly. And so your brain wants to say something, like somebody might say to you, "Well, that was shit," and you understand, "How are you? What did you do today?" And you want to spit out an answer, and you know the words, but they don't come, right? So part of the reason they don't come, maybe according to Crashen, you're nervous. And I think somebody would be. They hear somebody, "Well, that was shit, oh, they're speaking so fast. How do I answer?" So the anxiety is up. I think that's part of it. Another part of it, like I said, with Paul Nation, you have not practiced that skill, right? So I do think that's part of it as well. But the third part of it, which ties it all together, the brain circuitry in your brain that can then produce those sounds with ease has not been wired properly. And under this example, it would be like somebody who can play the piano very quickly and very beautifully, as opposed to somebody who's still trying to go, trying to figure out how to get their fingers to move for some very, very basic sounds. So those are the three reasons why I believe this happens. And then in terms of how we fix it, it's actually very simple. If these are the three reasons why it happens, the three reasons to get away from it: number one, reduce the stress level and increase the volume of comprehensible input, right? That's what Stephen Krashen would say. And that's a lot of what we do in this class. If you remember the word, rules we have, we don't laugh at anybody. We don't say, I'm sorry, right? Because there's no mistakes. There's just steps that we take on this journey towards learning a language. We've created a safe space here where everybody is free to experiment and learn. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is more practice with output in addition to input. And so we do that here as well, right? If you'll notice, I give everyone an opportunity to speak. We use the breakout rooms, everyone from day one, everyone in this class speaks, right? So we're practicing listening skills. We're practicing speaking skills. We're practicing the reading skills. The only thing we're not doing in this class is writing, right? So we do that. And then the third is those first two things together over time are helping everybody's brain to wire properly, right? So at this point, I think everyone in this class feels very comfortable with dawashit, right? It comes very easily out, right? Everybody, robots, right? We feel comfortable with these because these are some of the words we've repeated so many times that it's like muscle memory now, like the way that an Olympic athlete will practice the same movements thousands of times so that when they go to compete, it's just normal for them, all right? Or any of the Turkish speakers, günaydın, right? Teşekkürler. These are words, even me, I've said these words so many times that they just come out of my mouth, right? It's muscle memory. So that's the root cause. And I think that's how we solve those problems. And that's what we try to, I know all of you, many of you have some Circassian background. So that's why I've structured the class the way that I have. So are there any other questions like that about, learning in general, or how or why we learn or why we don't learn?
Do you know any website for learning proper English? I'm asking that for one of my friends.
There are many websites out there that do it. It's not something I've looked at because I don't need it. So
any sites, on which we can find TPRS methods?
Yeah, a couple of my Turkish Circassian students have asked me that. I've actually asked the TPRS people, and they don't know. There are many TPRS English programs for Spanish speakers, but not anything yet for Turkish speakers.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else before we go into today's formal lesson? Minerva, is that you? Or is that you, or is that a background picture? You're so still today. I can't figure out.
It's my room in dormitory, not background.
Okay. Yeah, I see you moving now. So
It so make me like this side are some stuffs on my back, and this yellow part is wall. That's why I'm trying to put myself in the middle.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Let's dive in today. So what I'm about to share with you guys, this is similar to what we did last class when we talked about extensive reading. I forgot that I had these materials. I developed these materials, I want to say 10 or 12 years ago. So, and then I forgot that I wrote them. What this is about 80 or 90 little stories. Each story is about 2-3 sentences long, but each story is designed around a vocabulary set so that when you get to the end of all 80 or 90 stories, you've been exposed to the 500 or 600 most high frequency, most common words in Circassian, right? So some of the stories are a little strange because we had to force some of the vocabulary to work together, but they're all translated, which is helpful as well. So give me a second here to share my screen. There we go. You guys can see my screen?
Mhm.
All right. So like I said, these, I wrote these at least 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. I'm not sure. I don't remember at this point. And let me kind of walk you through what you're looking at here. So what we have here is a very short story. You can see this one is why is this like this? Give me a second here. This one's 2 sentences long. Let me close this. There we go. So this one's only 2 sentences long. And all of the vocabulary for this story is actually down here as well. We have, I never got around to doing, like, I speak Russian, so I could do the Russian. I haven't gotten around to learning Turkish yet, so I didn't do the Turkish. So I apologize for that. So let's go through this using the 1, 2, 3 method that we used last time. So what I would say is mute yourselves right now and feel free to practice with me as I go through. Okay. So again, if you were doing this, the 1, 2, 3 method, the first time you would read this all the way through, not really worrying about too much, just to see if you understand some stuff. And you would do it silently, but of course I'll do it out loud because it helps you guys with reading comprehension. Okay. Mazr, smra, wafmra, yishhamcha, sh'ash. Zvagur, zapapa, khuj. Okay. So the 1, 2, 3 method. We see this picture and we see a moon, there's stars, there's a sky, we see the earth, here's a little alien. So let's go back, that's the picture. Let's go back to this thing, this sentence, this story. So Mazr, we know Maza, we've heard that in this class many times. You guys can open up your mics, right? What's Maza?
Moon.
Moon.
And what's Mazr?
The moon.
The moon.
The moon.
The moon.
Yeah.
Okay. Mazr, Simra, Wafimra. You guys have not been exposed to these. Some of you may know these words, but I'm just kind of going through like the teaching process. So you have not been exposed to these words in this class. So we don't know what they are, but we do know that they end in ra. So that means that there's a list of them, and that means they're nouns, right? So sumra wafimra. We'll come back to that. Yishhamcha. Well, I see the word shha, head. So I know that this means head or something. Yishhamcha sh'ash. I know sh'ash. We know this word. What does sh'a mean?
To be.
There
is. So right off the bat on this first time, 1, 2, 3, on number 1, I know that the moon is head. Okay, let's keep going. Z, we know z. Z. Vaur. Well, I don't know vaur, but I know vaur means the, whatever vaur is. Z, also 1. Apapa, we don't know what that is yet. Huj.
White.
White. It is white. Okay.
Mm.
So that's the 1. Now let's go through it a second time. Mazr, simra, wafamra, yishhamcha, sh'ash. So yishhamcha, I think we might actually know. We know there's the word head in there, but this word doesn't mean head. It means something else. And I think some of you know this word, or you can guess what yishhamcha means. So Aliyah, what do you think yishhamcha means?
Maybe on the top of something.
It means above.
Okay.
Okay, it means above, on top of or above. So we just decoded another clue. We've just figured this out, right? Mazr, simra, wafamra, yishhamcha sha'ash. So the moon is above something. It's above something. Zavahur, what is it?
Sky. Waltham is sky.
Wafa is sky. Okay. Who knows what sun is? Sun.
Earth.
Earth.
Earth. Ah. Mazr simra wafamra yishhamcha sha'ash. The moon is above the earth and the sky. Okay. So we figured that out. This is how extensive reading works. Remember? Zavahur, za'apapa, huj. So we know huj. In the picture, what is it that's white?
Shoes.
The moon. The
No.
star. Bell.
The star. So we know the star is white, and we see one big one. We see one big one. So zavahur, one star, is white. And then apapa, I'll just tell you, apapa is dot.
Is
Dot. Dot.
that. Okay.
Dot. Okay. Точка по-русски. So we know now what this means, right? We know now what this means. And now we can read it the third time. And if you were doing this on your own, you would read it out loud to practice that muscle memory, that neuro-linguistic bond. Okay. Mazr, simra, wafamra, yishhamcha sha'ash. Zavahur, za'apapa huj. The moon is above the earth and the sky. One star is a dot, is a white dot. Okay. So we now understand all of this. Go back on mute, read it with me one more time. Read it with me one more time. Okay. And then we're gonna ask questions, right? So follow along with me. Mazr, simra, wafamra, yishhamcha, sha'ash. Zavahur, za'apapa, huj. Let's open up our mics. So tonight,
Can you hear me well?
What?
Because can you hear me well? Because the noise around me.
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
Sit. Yishhamcha sha'a.
Sorry. Mazar.
Mazr. Mazr. Yishhamcha sha'ash. Okay. Nilgun.
It's Shanti.
Mazr. Sittim. Yishhacha sha'ar.
Mazar shimre wafemre yishhaja shi'ash.
Taj. Mazr. Simra. Wafamra. Yishhamcha sha'ash. Taj. 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 Haya. Sit. Simra. Wafamra. Yishhamcha sha'ar.
Mazar.
Mazr. Mazr. Psori is also. Tell me the whole sentence.
Mazar simra wafmura yishhamshta shi'ash.
Taj. Mazr, simra, wafimra, yishhamcha, sha'ash. Lalina.
Sit.
Mazr, we win them. Yishhamcha, sha'ara.
How Mazar Shunam, it's not there.
It is there.
I can't see it.
That doesn't mean it's not there.
Тогда это мазерсионом ешхамча шаш.
Pej mazer si wunum yish hamcha shash. Muhammad,
Janti.
wo we winner slim yish hamcha sha.
Sivunam. Shimra yishamcha shash.
Pejqam.
Peshkum.
We winner simra yish hamcha shash. Awa wafamra yish hamcha shaqam. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Can you repeat again the last sentence?
First, let me
Wafamra.
ask you the question. Let's see if you
Mhm.
understand. We winner slim yish hamcha sha'a. What did I ask you?
My house is on earth.
Is on top of the earth. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. So I'm asking you, we winner slim yish hamcha sha'a. And how do you answer me?
How Sivunam Shiakum.
Sha'aqam? Your house does not exist?
I mean, no.
What do you want to say to me? In English, tell me in English.
I'm gonna try to say my house on earth. But
Okay.
what are you expecting to say me from you?
So that's what you should say.
Mhm.
Si winner,
Winner,
slim,
Shim,
yish hamcha.
Yisham, Sivuner, Shim, Yishamcha, Chash.
Yeah. What you originally said is my house is above the earth and the sky.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Natai, we winner wafim yesharam sha'a.
Tas yunar wafam yishagam sha'ash.
Who knows? Not Natai. Who knows what yesharam means? Nobody? Who wants to guess what yesharam means?
Is it the opposite of Yeshamcha?
Yes. So what would that be, Aliyah?
Under.
Below?
Below, under. Yes. Yes. Okay. So again, we're being logical within the story, right? We know that Muhammad's house is above the earth, right? We know it's above the earth. And then I asked Natai, I had a guess that Natai knew what this word meant. So I asked Natai, is your house something the sky? So we know his house, logically, his house cannot be above the sky. Natai, do you live in the space station?
No.
Okay, so we know for a fact that his house cannot be above the sky. So logically, there's only one other place it could be. It's not above the sky. It's not in the sky. It has to be under the sky. Right? So again, I'll ask him again. I know he knows the answer, but I want everybody to hear everything all together. Natai,
Ta.
we winner wafum yishamcha sha'a. I'm sorry, yis'agam sha'a.
Tas yunar wafam sha'agam yash. Sha'ash.
Sha'ash. Si winner wafum yis'agam sha'ash. Okay. Mahmoud.
انت
We computer, we enum table. We enum يشحمشة شقة.
ده هو the computer. What was the name of the table?
أنا.
And pardon. The computer أنمجة يشحمجة شئج.
سي كمبيوتر سي أنم يشحمشة شقش.
سي كمبيوتر أنمجة يشحمجة شئج.
سينا. فاغور خوج حمرا فتسة.
خوش
فاغور خوج.
واقع خوش
فاغور خوج. أليا. فاغو دابشة شقة.
زواغ شأش
زفاغو شقش. ست خودة بخلفة؟
خوش
خوج. كريل. فاغو فتسة حمرا فاغو خوج شقة.
فاغور خوش
فاغو خوج شقش. كريل. ست فتسة. Do you know what it means?
وافمرة وافة فيتسا.
Fitzash, correct. So you know what fitza means, yeah?
I guess that it's black.
Yes, you guessed correctly. Again, this is how extensive reading works. I'm giving you vocabulary, opposites, so you're guessing, and you guessed correctly. Mirva. Dabsha va'washa'a. Z hamra tu. Z. Ba. Va'wur.
زواغر
Va'wur fitza. Hamra
زواغر
kuj.
واغر خوش
Kuj. Va'wur wafam yish'agam. Hamra yishham.
Can you repeat again?
Va'wur wafam yish'agam. Hamra yishham.
I don't know.
What's yishham?
Yishham on top.
So what do you think yish'agam means?
You're asking about the star is on top or not?
I'm asking, is the star on top of the sky or underneath the sky?
واغر I cannot.
Okay, let's do it together.
Okay.
So va'gur
واغر
wafim
وافم
yishhamcha
يشحمجش
sha'ash. Pej. Va'gur wafim yishhamcha sha'ash.
واغر وافم يشحمجش
Melich.
Janti.
Sit wafimra simra yishhamcha sha'ar.
معذر شمرة وافمرة يشخم تشاش.
Va'gusha.
واغو نت واغو شاش.
Va'guri sha'ash. Va'guri sha'ash. Dala. Vimpur. Madagascar. Yishhamcha sha'a.
انت وانبوغر مدغشقر يشحمجش اش.
Vimpucher, Madagascar, Yishamcha Shas. Vimpur, we nibzoch. Hamra, we be.
B, what's B?
First, tell me what's nibzoch.
Nibjo, friend.
So what do you think? What do you think B could be? We know it's not nibzoch.
Like unknown or enemy. Like
Enemy.
Enemy.
Vimpur, we nibzoch. Hamra would be.
Vimpuger and Nibjo.
Vimpucher si nibzochs. Okay. Vimpur, fitza. Hamra chuj.
Vimpuger. Huish. Vimpuger huish.
Uri. Vimpucher chujri, fitzeri.
Hujiri. Abo Fitzeri.
Yeah, Uri. Kunsta. Aliyah. Oh no, Aliyah went. Did anybody not go? Okay. So once again, let's just read this one more time. All right. Mazr, simra, wafamra, yishamcha sha'ash. Zavagur, zaapapa, huj. All right. Now, one last thing. Everyone go on mute for a minute. And read this out loud yourself. Do the best you can. Okay, just take a moment. I want to see lips moving. Okay. Mazr, simra, wafamra, yishamcha sha'ash. Zavagur, zaapapa, huj. Okay, open up the mics. Are you guys thinking about the vocabulary? Are you guys absorbing the content? Are you guys getting a comfort level with it? Is it connecting in your brain?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So going through all 88 of these stories, you'll be exposed to about 600 vocabulary words, which are high frequency, high use, right? So I'll make this available. Eventually, I still want to clean up the stories a little bit. I also want to reorder them a little bit, and I'll put them online. Eventually, I'll add Turkish as well. But do you guys want to do another? Well, first of all, how are you guys feeling about this? Is it too much? Is it interesting? Is it overwhelming? Is it intimidating?
No, I think it's a very interesting way to learn the language.
It's good enough when many people, their range of the capability to speak is can understand this story.
Makes us estimate the words.
Okay. You guys want to do one more story?
Okay.
It's
Yes,
quite
sure.
good.
Okay.
Sure.
Merva, how are you feeling? Is the Cyrillic too much for you, or is all of this repetition and exposure, are some of the letters starting to make sense to you, or does this feel like just looking at hieroglyphics from Egypt?
No, I actually know Western alphabet, and there's no huge difference as I see.
Okay. Is there anybody, Sina, did you ever see a lot of Adigabza letters before?
Yes, so I have a workbook, so I learned the alphabet and I can read it, but not as perfect.
Okay. Okay. Dua, how about you? Is this overwhelming you? Because I know you're new to the Cyrillic alphabet as well. Dua is in an undisclosed location attending to national security matters. Okay. Okay, this is a short one. It's one sentence long. All right. Miriam's. شحا غرتر يصبر وزو شتش. Okay, so Miriam we haven't covered. I know you guys can see all the letters here, but I'm just, Miriam we haven't covered. شحغرتر the شحغرت. شح we know. غرتر not sure. His or her.
His. Okay.
صب.
Shibawa. Shibawa. I know the word shibawa. Back, right?
Wuz. We know this word.
Hurt.
Pain.
Hurt. Pain. Yeah.
Hurt. Pain.
Shit.
Thou shit. To stand. To stand. Okay. That's one. Now we'll do two. Miriam's. شحغرتر يصبر وزو شتش. Miriam's. Still don't know what Miriam is. شحغرتر. Well, let's look at the picture. We see a guy.
Waitress.
Waiter. We see a waiter. And he's standing. And he's stretching. He's stretching his back. Right? Okay. So let's go back over here. Miriam's شحغرتر يصبر وزو شتش. شحغرتر شتش. The waiter is standing. So I see a waiter standing. That's what this means. يصبر وزو. يصبر his back. His back. Wuzu with pain.
Pain.
So, hey, on number 2, we figured it all out. Miriam. شحغرتر يصبر وزو شتش. That's 2. Yes.
Pain means wuz, but here is wuzu. In the sentence, her pain wuzu.
Yeah means his, her, or it. Okay.
Okay.
Wuzu means painfully.
Adverb.
Adverb form. Adverb form. Okay. Miriam's شحغرتر يصبر وزو شتش. Okay. So let's everybody go on mute. We're going to practice reading this together. Okay. Mer. Miriam's. Friday. Whoops, I'm sorry. Shha. Gha. Shha. Shxaghartr. Shxaghartr. Ye. Sib. Sibr. Wuzu. Shitch. Miriam's. Shxaghartr. Yisibr. Wuzu shitch. Okay. Now, one last time, read it by yourself. I'm not going to say anything. Okay. Let's open up our mics.
Can I just say something before we continue?
Yeah.
We were taught that Friday is Mariam's at school, not Mariam's.
I may be bringing some of my Russian pronunciation into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I apologize for that.
No. It's
I'm
okay.
allowed to have an accent. But yeah, you are right. Merims. I apologize. Merims. Okay. Haya.
Ba.
Noba sitwa makwa.
Noba tamahush. Hawa. Tamahush.
Makhabarim yitu. In the story, not for real.
And Mariams.
Noba Merims. Noba Merims. Satanai.
Sit.
Noba Merim. Hamara Shabat.
Noba neither.
Noba in the story.
And this Noba Miriam.
Noba Miriams. What do you think is Shabbat?
Saturday?
Correct. Comes from Arabic. Okay. Nilgun.
Yes, sure.
Wa professor Hamra وش حغرت.
سي professors.
وش حغرتكم.
هوا سي شغرتكم.
لالينا.
ست.
وشغرت تلاوغرة.
أنت شغرت سوشاو.
ساري شغرت سوشاو. محمد. شغرتر شترة حمرة شسرة.
شغرتر شترة.
Shits. What do you think shis means? Sitting. Correct. Natai. Wa يجبستو والشترة حمرة والشسرة.
يجبستو شسرة
شس. ممتاز. محمد.
Yes.
شغرتر وزنشو شترة.
Did you ask the waiter is standing or what?
شغرتر وزنشو شترة. In English, tell me what you think I'm asking you.
Is the waiter got a pain?
Pain is wuz. What's wuzinshu? Wuzu is painfully.
Okay.
Wuzinshu is what I said. So what do you think? Do you know what wuzinshu means?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Health. Without pain. Healthy. Yes. So, and remember, and adigabza, wuzinshu shit. Goodbye. Wuzinshu shit. That's how we say goodbye. Wuzinshu shit. Wa wuzinshaga wi'a. Allahim yeshakurcha sasa wuzinshas. So wuzinsha means healthy, but it literally means without pain. Insha means without. So, and then we make an adverb form. Side note, Mahmad, Alih is God, right? Ta is God. So if I say ar hansas, I just told you wuz means pain, wuzinshu means without pain. You know ta means God. If I say ar hansas,
he is atheist.
He's atheist. He's without God. So you understand wuzinsha, hansha, aqil, Arabic word, it means brain. If I say ar aqalinshas,
he's crazy.
He's crazy, he's stupid, he's brainless, he's a crazy guy, he's not thinking, all those things, okay? So coming back to the story, shagharitr wazinshu shitra.
Hawa شحاغتر was يئة
وزيأش انت وزيأش وزوشتش وزيأش طوري باج طوري جبفانوش. You can say both. You can say both. Let's practice. Go ahead.
Pardon. We don't say just Meryemsh in here. Is it extra ish? Meryemsh?
Miriam is Friday. Miriam's, it is Friday.
One word, one sentence. I got it.
So repeat after me, Mahmoud. Shha. Gha. Gharit.
Gharit.
Tir.
Tir.
Gharitir.
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 Shha.
Shha.
Shhaga.
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 Shaha. Gha. Ra. Tir.
Shhagaritir.
Shahaga. Ritir.
Paj. Sina. وخجبز حمراء شحغرت
سخجبز
وخجبز ويشبر وزرة
how وجبركم
سي شبر وزقم
شزبر وزكم
سي شبر وزقم ميرفا سينا وزو شسرة
how سينا وزو يأش
حوا سينا وزو شسرة Okay, so let me ask the question and tell me in English what I'm asking you.
Okay.
Sina wuzu shisra.
Does Sina has pain?
Is Sina sitting with pain?
I didn't even notice the city one.
So earlier on in the class, I forget who it was. I think it was Muhammad. We said shit is to stand. Shis is to be sitting. Right? So we used that new word. We introduced that new word. And now with Sina, we know she's not standing. She's sitting in a chair. We can see her, right? So Sina wuzu shisra. Is Sina sitting with pain? And a moment ago, I asked her if her back hurts, and she says, no, my back does not hurt. So when I ask you, Sina wuzu shisra, is Sina sitting with pain? How would you answer me?
Sina, how Sina wuzu. The verb is, I cannot make it for her.
You can. It's simple. Try, just try.
Such as, for example, I sit. Wishes. Well, wishes. How can I say? I don't know. But I can't say Sina. No, I want to say positive, not negative.
Sina wasn't sure. Shish.
So I understand.
Okay. So remember in the beginning.
say na wasn't show shit.
So remember in the beginning of class, Mehmet asked me what it is that causes people to understand but have trouble speaking. So what we just saw in this class is the affective barrier, as Stephen Krashen would call it. You knew the answer, but there was something inside of you that was making you feel anxious or nervous. And so you weren't sure how to give the answer, even though you knew it.
Yeah, and you know, when I mute myself, I can answer most of the questions. I mean, questions for others. I can easily answer them, but when it comes to my turn, I can't.
It's because you're anxious. It's because you're nervous. You can answer all of these questions equally well, but right now, when it's not your turn, you know the answer, right? It's easy. When it is your turn, you also know the answer, but you're nervous to make a mistake.
Yeah.
That is normal. That is the affective filter, as Stephen Krashen would call it. And so we need to feel very comfortable to make mistakes. We need to feel very comfortable to experiment, because when you finally say it without my help, it clicks in your brain. Okay. So Merva, wa wuzu wushitra.
How سوز شتقم.
سوزو شتقم. Pej. دلعة.
انت
خت وزو شترة.
شحا طارتر وزر شتش.
شحاغرتر وزو شتش. Pej. Kowalski وزو شسرة.
حوا كواسكي انت كواسكي وزو شتش.
Kowalski وزو شس.
انت
Okay. خونش. Kowalski سلام سويكيج.
عليكم السلام.
Okay. Aliyah.
انت
وش السرة حمراء وش الترة
سسشش
ووشس.
انت
ووش الترة حمراء ووش السرة حمراء ووش الثرة.
سسشش
ووشس. ست شثرة يمحنر.
I'm not sure.
What is the meaning of shith? Sit shithra yimahannar.
What is laying?
What is the meaning of shith? To lay. Yes. Okay. Shis. Well, let's start. Shit, to stand. Shit, to stand. Shis, to sit. Shith, to lay down. To be lying. To be laid down. Okay. What? Yijipstu washithra.
How is this shilterpon?
Washis. Shagritter shithra.
How shagritter shitch.
Wuzu. Hammer wuzinshu.
Wuzishitch.
Wuzushitch. Kirill. Wa zazamiza wuzu washitra.
انت سزمتا وزو شتش.
Sishitch. Shagritter yijipstu wuzinshu shitra.
شغرتر يجبستو وزو شتش.
Paj. Shagritter yijipstu wuzu shitch. مليح.
جانتي
شحغرتر دنا ديج شوزر.
شخاغارتر ي شبر وزوشتش.
شحغرتر يشبر وزوشتش. Pej. Okay. So again, you guys have kind of come through the ranks. You've gone through a lot of that basic vocabulary building in the beginning of the course. I wanted to lay this on you. You guys did remarkably well. I think you guys, I'm going to say this, like I had a lot of confidence, but you guys did actually better than I thought you would. You guys were able to handle everything that I threw at you. So congratulations.
Thank you. We own you a lot. We own you a lot, John T.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we have a few minutes. Are there any closing comments, questions, statements before we wrap up our last class for a while?
Before we conclude our classes, I would just like to thank you for creating such a comfortable environment for us to learn the language. It feels like hanging out with friends, not a classroom. And I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that. That's part of what we're trying to do, foster that idea that we can talk to each other freely. We can make mistakes. There's no mistakes, just steps to learning, that kind of thing. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Your class was very entertaining, informative, very, very useful. And I appreciate your effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is really great to see with this method, from the applied linguistics and linguistics, there's a background of such methods. So we can see that backgrounds, the theories or hypotheses, we can see that it is working out great actually with this TPRS, and especially for Circassian language and people, commenting on Circassian language. It is so hard, this kind of things, but such things, when you have such approaches to languages and methods, it's getting easier and easier. So thank you again and again.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Anyone else going once?
And it's not
I
like
want just to say that.
you.
Very nervous.
I heard a woman speaking. Let's let the woman go first, then we can go to Natai.
Yeah.
I was speaking, but my network is not clear. I think that's why.
Okay, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was saying that like your class is not like as usual.
You breaking up, unfortunately, Merva.
Usual lessons at all. I mean,
I think we lost Merva.
Okay, I just want to say that I had several courses in Circassian, and which used to be the traditional way, and I think this is the best method that I've ever encountered with, and thank you for that. It's really effective.
Thank you.
Effective.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Who's going to say something?
I want to say thank you very much for your effort, for your patience, and to let us join this community. I'm very happy to here right now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Me too. I want to thank you. I never thought that I will have time, but I made sure to make time because I have no one to practice with. I only practiced through the classes because of my job and everything. But when I couldn't attend, I was sad. I made sure I attend all the classes because it really helped me.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I would like to say that again, thank you. And I also want to compare about my past years. When I was learning my English at preparation school, there was a conversations room, but nobody is attending the conversation room. And I am and my teacher, we are always talking in English, and my teacher also native American. And when I think that that was very beneficial to improve my English and train, and it works my mind. And when I compare this class with my old memories, I also see this class beneficial to improve my speaking or thinking, or try to work my mind in Circassian language. Because I took last year, recent years, I took 3 different courses, and especially all of them were focusing the grammar, but as I observing the course, unfortunately not enough for me, the grammar, but this course is helpful to improve my Circassian language. I can say that.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. What I think
very much, Janti, and we all wish good health to your wife, and we hope she will be good and you'll come back to us.
Inshallah, inshallah. What I think I'm going to try to do, I've been thinking about this a lot. You know, so far I have roughly 50 students. Between both of these classes, there's about 50 of you. Not everybody comes to every class, you know, not everybody's able to. And there's probably another 200 people online who don't come to class, but watch my videos, all of them. I'm shocked when I look at my YouTube analytics. There's 300 to 400 hours a month of people watching these videos. That's a lot of time. And these videos are a lot short. You know, they're an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours long. So the problem that I keep asking myself is, how do I get bigger, right? I think there's 2 or 3 million people who would say, I'm Adiga. Not, oh, my grandfather was half Adiga. There's a lot of people like that. But I think there's 2 or 3 million people who would say, I am Adiga. If there's only 1% of those people who want to learn or improve Adigabza, so if we get a room of 100 of these people and we ask, do you want to learn Adigabza? No, no, no. 99 out of those 100 people say no, and only 1 says yes. That means there's 20 to 30,000 people who want to learn Adigabza. So when I use the smallest estimate for Circassian people on the planet, and I use the smallest percentage of people who want to learn, it's still a big number. If you put 1,000 people in a room and 999 of them says no, and 1 says yes, that's still 2,000 or 3,000 people. You can do a lot with 2,000 or 3,000 people, right? But 2,000 or 3,000 people is a lot bigger than this 50 people or these 200 people. And there's only 2 or 3 people right now doing what I'm doing, experimenting, testing, maybe 2, me and Hamid. I don't know anybody else who's doing this level of testing and analysis and stuff like that. So one thing that I've been experimenting with, thinking about, is to take these TPRS materials and record a session, maybe with my daughter, because I'm teaching her in one-to-one classes, to go through these slides. And imagine there's like 100 slides. You start at 1, you end at 100, khalas, Arabi, you're done, right? And each lesson would be 15 minutes long. And you could watch it multiple times. But then the idea would be for people like you, wherever you are in the world, you could watch 2 or 3 of those during the week, 10, 15 minutes long. You could watch it once, twice, 3 times. And then on Saturdays, in the morning for me, in the evening for you, all Circassians and all time zones, like we did this before, like this time, right now it's a work day for me. So around this time, maybe a half hour later, it works very well for all time zones, for North America, for Eastern Europe, for Eurasia, for homeland, for Turkey. So what we could do is once a week's not enough to learn a language, but if each person 2 or 3 times a week could find 15 or 20 minutes to watch the video, and then on Saturdays we come together and I do a very, very quick review and then put you guys into breakout rooms where you guys can practice with each other. I think that might be a way to get this to be bigger because, how do I say this? Having the community helps, right? If each of you just go and say, I'll do this 2 or 3 times a week. 1 week you do okay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm busy, you fall behind, and then, it doesn't work anymore. So having that asynchronous part where you do it on your own, but then having that community part where on Saturdays we get together and then there's accountability. If you're the person who's asking you questions, like, oh, that person is going to ask me questions about the story. I get to practice, does that sound like an interesting way to balance and get bigger and make the community bigger? Or does that feel like it wouldn't work? Does anybody think that that would be a bad approach?
Salam, Janti.
Mhm.
I think it would be really great because during now, like when we are doing the classes, some people, their level is a little bit more advanced. Some people are a little bit newer starting. So people also like getting distracted maybe or losing concentration and focusing. But with the way that you mentioned, maybe they can go ahead and start or take more classes or more slideshows. And then on the Saturday, they have a really bigger chance to practice what they have learned. I think that would be really more beneficial. Okay. And also to have the material always available. For me, for example, from Optilingual, I'm always playing on like 1 or 2 or 3 classes. At the same time, it would be more beneficial for me to have the video and to have the slides as well. So I think it would be more developed version of the Optilingual program, and it would be really good for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, let's leave it there, guys. I have to run to work. I have to start my work day now. It's a very long day for me, but it's been a very big pleasure I consider you all like my friends. And this is not goodbye. This is okay. All right.
It was our pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.